Memorials. Remembering important events. Sculpture is an idea stripped bare. Maya Lin. Artists design memorials to remember people and important events. We're going to find out how artists design these outdoor sculptures to express ideas. Augustus Saint-Gaudens. Buildings and sculptures called memorials stand in public places throughout the United States. They honor the memory of brave people and events in which they died. In 1863, a 26-year-old white colonel named Robert Shaw led the first African American Union regiment into battle in the Civil War. In their attack on the Confederate fort, Shaw was killed, and more than 270 of his men were killed, wounded, or captured. Augustus St. Gaudens made this memorial to Colonel Shaw. This memorial is a relief sculpture. Areas of the sculpture are raised from the flat background. If you were to walk around the memorial, you wouldn't see the other side of the soldiers or Shaw on his horse. The back side has an inscription in memory of Shaw and his men. St. Gaudens was the first white artist to show African Americans as heroes. He created the first memorial dedicated to African American veterans. He used live models to make the head of each courageous soldier. He cared so much about this memorial that he worked on it for more than 13 years. You can see that there's an angel above Colonel Shaw. She's carrying poppy seeds, which is a typical sign for death, and then also olive branches, which is a sign for peace and remembrance. Maya Lin. The Vietnam War lasted 16 years. Bitter feelings about it divided the country. Even so, each year a million people visit the Vietnam Veterans War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Visitors touch the polished stone. They stop to think about the men and women who died in the war. Many visitors leave letters, flowers, and medals behind. The architect who designed the memorial was only 21 years old. She had never seen the war, but she created a powerful symbol of war and sacrifice that has touched many lives, and her name was Maya Lin. Lynn grew up in Athens, Ohio. She was the daughter of Chinese immigrants. Her mother taught literature at Ohio State University and wrote poetry. Her father made pottery and also taught at the university. Lynn liked hiking and bird watching in the woods around her home. She had an interest in burial sites and also understood how people deal with death. She took photographs of headstones at cemeteries. She preferred the simple ones the best. While in college, Lynn studied sculpture and architecture. For a class assignment, she entered in a competition to design a memorial to honor veterans of the war in Vietnam. She traveled to Washington, D.C. to see the site, near the Lincoln Memorial and the Capitol. People walked and threw frisbees near the spot. She wanted to preserve the land as well as possible. As soon as she saw the site, she knew what her design would be. Lynn would cut a wide open V into the earth. She would set in place black granite panels carved with the names of the more than 58,000 American men and women killed or missing in the war. The surface of the granite gleams like a black mirror, reflecting faces, sky, and clouds. The 10-foot wide path keeps visitors close to the wall as they walk by. Lynn knew people would reach out to touch the names of the men and women who sacrificed their lives. She wanted visitors to make a journey back in time. In her design, the names of the missing and falling appear according to date of death, not by alphabetical order or rank. People trace a timeline of the war to find a name of someone they knew. Lynn created a quiet, comforting place where people can take time to think about the life, death, and war. The memorial is about the war in Vietnam, but it is also about the sacrifice of life in war. Lynn turned in her project, never imagining that her unconventional design would win, but it did. And in 1982, on Veterans Day, the wall, which is what it's commonly called, was dedicated to the United States. After working on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, Lynn withdrew from public for a while. In 1988, the Southern Poverty Law Center in Montgomery, Alabama, asked her to design a memorial to honor those who had given their lives in the fight for racial equality. Lynn agreed to do it. She reads a quote from a speech by Martin Luther King that said, "Until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." As soon as she read those words, based on a passage from the Bible, she knew her piece would be all about water. Lynn created a circular timeline of major events in the struggle for civil rights. Stonecutters carved the names of people events into a black granite disc 12 feet in diameter. Water flows from a hole in the center of the timeline. It flows so smoothly and slowly that it seems to be still until hands reach out to touch the words, creating ripples in the surface. Like the design for the Vietnam Veterans War Memorial, the Civil Rights Memorial offers simple facts. It doesn't tell you what to think, it creates a place for you to think for yourself about important things. Maya Lin continues to create sculptures and architecture. She likes to explore the boundaries of things.